Okay, moving on very quickly to our next issue. This morning, at least 55 Palestinians in Gaza have been shot dead by Israeli troops after bloody clashes erupted on the border.
Now, about 2,700 people were also injured in Monday's violence, according to Palestinian officials. The violence occurred before the opening of the U.S. embassy in Jerusalem, which has infuriated Palestinians. They see it as a clear U.S. backing for Israeli rule over the whole city, whose eastern part Palestinians lay claim to.
All right, joining us on the phone is a foreign affairs analyst, Chuks Nwoko. Good morning and thanks for joining us on the show.
Angie, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chuks.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trump is saying that Israel has the right to determine its own capital as a sovereign nation. And yet the U.S. seems to have gotten itself involved in one way or another by pushing Israel to determine exactly where that state capital would be. What do you make of this?
I think it's a fact. He's taking the whole of the United States and particularly Trump to establish a veracity that you and I should be aware of. I empathize with the Palestinians with the deaths that has occurred. Those are lives that are precious and all that. But this is a decision that has internal consequences for the Christian world. I mean, Ngozi and Mike, think about it. For the past how many decades, this decision that Trump took and the fact that Jerusalem is the city of our Lord Jesus Christ, where he's going to return to, it's taken how many decades and how many presidents promising to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel. And this man is just a courageous man. And by the way, this is how peace is going to return to the place if with this establishment of Jerusalem as a capital city of Jerusalem, if the people will come to the table to have a negotiation and then establish peace. Because even outside of this, there has not been peace.
All right, yeah, but Chuks, Christians lay claim to Jerusalem. Not just them. The Muslims also lay claim to it. The Jews also lay claim to it. So how can we see it from the Christian perspective only when all these people have ancestral bond with Jerusalem as a city?
If you take, maybe you are not aware, if you take the story that I am familiar with, and that's the Christian story, that's the promise, that's the city where Jesus had all his itineraries, where he had, all his influences, and above all, that's the place where God promised Abraham. And all the things that I don't want to get involved in because of the sensitivity of the matter. But the truth of the matter is that this decision has internal consequences. It's very important. Now, if you talk to me about the Judaism and Muslims, I don't know the story and the background. But this place called Jerusalem is not just a place that he promised the Christians. It's the city of our Lord Jesus Christ. So I believe that for Americans to have promised in the last 4 decades or 3 decades, if I'm not mistaken, that they are going to move their embassy back to Jerusalem, and it's taken Trump. I believe that if peace has eluded that region for how many years, with this establishment, there's need for us to sit on a round table and have a discussion of how we can coexist in the place. I think that's the direction we should go to, not quarreling with why Jerusalem has suddenly become the capital of Israel, because it has always been. It has always been. In fact, don't forget that the Jews were never in that place for how many years? Until about 70 years ago. And they have fought 6 wars. And each time they fought a war, they took back a portion of where it belonged to them originally. God gave them out into exile. But he also brought them back. And gradually they are taking back the promised land, the place that God promised Abraham. There was nothing like Israel before God met with Abraham. So it's just the same God that is using this man to establish his council.
Yeah, but that's looking at it from a religious, Christian point of view. As far as the Palestinians are concerned, they also have historical claims to East Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, Palestinian leadership has said it will not go into peace negotiation with Israel because the U.S. that was seen as a negotiator, middleman, all the while is no longer an honest negotiator. How does that render the whole peace process?
Don't forget that these guys are brothers. They're all fruits of Abraham, the Palestinians and the Jews. That's number one. Number two, America has been meddling in this matter, trying to be a peacemaker. Outside of America, there's no other nation that has played this role before now. Now, the question what you need to look at this morning is, before this pronouncement, there has not been peace. That's the point that I'm making. In the last how many years, there has not been peace. When Jerusalem did not become, they declared the capital of Israel, there was no peace. So if something has happened now, there is this need for peace. Do you understand what I'm saying? Trump made a promise during his campaign that I am going to make Jerusalem the home to our embassy. He had just fulfilled his campaign promises. Now, what needs to happen is for him to invite these guys to a roundtable talk. There is need for the talk. There's need for peace. If this peace has not happened before now, let it happen now. Because every time you do something you have not done before, something great happens. Let peace happen. And that cannot happen outside of a discussion. Let them stop taking the hard line of, oh, we're not going to. Because they have not done so in the last how many years?
But some analysts seem to believe that this is giving the Hamas some kind of edge over the Palestinian Authority, because the Hamas, they are the ones sponsoring this protest that have led to dozens of deaths in
because the Palestinian leadership is not providing the adequate leadership. They are not. So Hamas is just maybe, I don't know how to describe them. They are just taking over, occupying the vacuum that has been created by the absence of strong leadership by the Palestinian leadership. There is need for them to sit down and talk. If they like, let them fight from here till the next 1 million years. At the end of the day, they need to talk, because there's need for them to stop the establishment of lives of innocent people, of Palestinian lives. It's so sad that they are allowing their own people to die because they do not recognize, or they don't want to humble themselves to sit on a round table to talk. There's need for the talk now that this has happened.
Yes, when it comes to the issue of talking, the talking has been on, even from the days of Yasser Arafat, who was the head of the Palestinian Authority. And the UN seemed to be agreeing. In fact, they had come to a level where they were looking at the possibility of a two-state situation for Palestine and Israel, which means that there was some kind of a hope in sight. But the movement of the U.S. embassy to Jerusalem now seemed to have thrown some spanner in the wheels when it comes to the issue of trust.
Mike, every time a decision is about to be made in the White House, from the days of Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, every time the American government wants to take a decision and they sit together in the White House, the president of America will always ask one question: what will happen when we make this decision? And the answer is always, if it has to do with Iran, oh, there will be a protest march in Tehran. If it's in Israel or in the Middle East, oh, there will be protests in whatever. So that is the familiar activity that we're used to. Mike, you talked about we have been talking. There's no alternative to talking. Violence is not an alternative. You got to constantly talk. You have to constantly talk. There's no alternative to it. Violence cannot be accepted as, or loss of lives cannot be accepted as an alternative. They need to get to the round table. They have not done so in a long time. Yeah. Now, that has given the America the opportunity to do this. So they need to get back to the talking table and make peace. There's no alternative also to peace. They need to talk. There's no alternative to talking. There's no alternative to peace. Loss of life by those young people is not acceptable by me.
All right, we have to leave you here now. Chus Nwoko, thank you so much for talking to us on this. Chus is joining us on phone. He's a foreign affairs analyst.
Of course, like Yitzhak Rabin, former Israeli Prime Minister, said, enough of the blood and tears.
Exactly.
But it looks like more and more of it is happening now.